Welcome everyone to December 7th, the day of infamy. You'll see that I want to remember our veterans at Pearl Harbor down at the bottom of the slide. We mentioned that. We have with us a special guest, our acting chief, Justice Mead. And before he starts in, I just wanted to address some of what we addressed in our last meeting, as well as a couple new things. But you'll see that on December 4th, Governor Mills renewed her curfew. And just a reminder, the curfew was imposed prior to Thanksgiving, announcing that all outdoor and indoor amusement venues, movie theaters, performing arts venues, casinos, businesses that seat for food and drink service, including social clubs, restaurants, bars, and tasting rooms, even currently open for outdoor service, must close by 9 p.m. And that's been extended to January 3rd. There was a press release for it, but I checked at least the website for proclamations and executive orders, and I did not see it posted there. So right now it seems to be in just press release form, and our holiday celebrations coming up this month are going to be dampened just a little bit. Effective December 1st, we did mention this last week, there is a standing order for the application of small claims actions. There seems to be a differentiation between those that are debt collectors and those that are just everyday non-debt collectors. And there is a new form out that's required to be used effective December 1st. And if you haven't seen it, it is available on the Judicial Branch website. Also on November 30th, there was a launch of our e-filing, which Justice Mead's going to talk to us a little bit about. I took a look at the announcement for that again, and you'll see that it appears that if you file less than 6 cases a year, you may be exempt as an attorney from e-filing. So maybe Justice Mead will have something extra on that too. Now, there's also been a request or a call out for comments to revise PMO SJC 3 and for a new PMO SJC 3A and for a revised PMO SJC 8. And those were due by November 30th. That was last Monday. I think the original goal was to post these new orders on December 1st, maybe. But Justice Mead can talk to us about that too. And with that, Justice Mead, there were some, I'm about ready to bring you on. There were some calls or emails I was conferenced into related to Augusta and the Augusta Judicial Center. I myself had a matter scheduled there last week. There was an announcement on the Judicial Branch website that it would be closed for most of the time around the Thanksgiving holiday because of a COVID positive there. And then I didn't see a whole lot of explanation for it, but it looked like it was closed right up through maybe Friday last week. We were just curious what might be happening there and even happening there today. So with that, Justice Mead, thank you for joining us, and thank you for everyone for being here to participate in what we have to share. Thank you.
And thank you, Thad. And good morning to everyone. I saw Bernie Kubitz wearing his mask earlier. I thought, wow, that's really above and beyond the call wearing the mask for a video conference. But I suspect he had an errand to do, but you don't need to put it back on, Bernie. There it is. Okay, we'll give you a pass on it here since we're all virtual. Oh, that's beautiful. Nice touch. But and again, a big thank you to the MSBA for making this platform possible to assist us in getting the word out and what's going on within the courts. And there is a lot going on. We don't have a mass media outlet for updates other than our judicial branch website. So this is a big help. Thank you very, very much for doing this. So we're coming up on 9 months into this siege, and it has been quite a ride for all of us. And the current numbers suggest that maybe it's not over soon. But as I say, there's been a lot going on, far too much for me to cover in the time that's allotted here. I'm going to try and go 100 miles an hour and hit some key points, provide some current status. I will talk about the items you mentioned, Thad, and take questions if there's time at the end. So to understand where we are today, we need to understand where we've been. So I need to give you a brief overview of some really important things. The challenge is, as it has always been, to balance the safety of the public and our people with the critical need to keep the doors of justice open to the maximum degree possible. So to do that, we have had to reinvent just about everything we do and how we do it. In the process, we've been guided by the science, by the numbers, by our consultants, and the need to first address cases involving constitutional rights and protection of the people of the state. We have taken stock of all our available resources. We have welcomed input from the stakeholders. We have developed some new tools for this process, for this pandemic period, and I'll identify 3 of those. The first are the pandemic management orders. You know all about this. They're quick and usually relatively easy to promulgate. We can revise them. We have done so on multiple occasions, and they supersede existing court rules and administrative orders. We issued a COVID-19 phased management plan on May 27th. It has gone through 5 revisions to date, and the most recent was November 3rd. Each phase of the plan had 2 elements, 2 objectives we're trying to get at. The first was to allow us to ensure first that we had adequate COVID containment measures. And secondly, it allowed us to rejigger our facilities and our procedures to address things going forward. Yeah, it was
Hold on, just okay.
Got muted there for a second.
You were muted there for a second, but you're back with us.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure how that happened. Good to be back. I was about to say the plan was a very ambitious plan. And at the time, it was my belief that by September, all case types would be susceptible to being heard and jury trials would be underway. So the summer, our summer, was consumed with really intensive work efforts, including an all hands on deck approach to the challenges and a number of working groups that had specific tasks, for instance, facilities working group, jury planning working group, and so on. So as summer moved into fall, we had done everything possible, everything within our means to open the facilities. We drafted procedures for case types as they became eligible for setting. We successfully conducted jury trials in Bangor and Augusta. We were ready, but a number of challenges stood in the way. And I'll run down a couple of those for you. I think you probably know this already. The first is building capacity controls. We can't do the traditional large dockets with large numbers of people as we did in the past. And some of our court sites simply cannot accommodate COVID-era jury trial necessities. We can't keep all of the courthouses open at all times. I'll talk more about that in just a moment. Our video remote capacity, our Zoom capacity is evolving, but we know even in the best of circumstances, that can't pick up all of the slack left by the limitations on the resources. And one of the biggest impediments and my largest source of frustration at this very moment is lack of judicial marshals. Before COVID hit, we didn't have enough marshals to do entry screening everywhere. But now, if a courthouse is open to the public, we need to have entry screeners. The COVID questions need to be asked of everyone coming to the courthouse, and the screener needs to potentially deny entrance to folks who want to get into the courthouse. The marshal qualifications are established by statute, involves things like Criminal Justice Academy, and our numbers are established by the legislature. They give us these positions. As I said, even before COVID hit, we didn't have enough marshals to staff all locations. So the bottom line is we can't keep all the courthouses open. there are not enough marshals. And as you know, jury trials are marshal intensive. We end up pulling marshals from one location to another. So even if we get the new positions from the legislature, we're putting a bill in to get more judicial marshals. I hope the MSBA will support it or create its own effort to do the same. To me, that's the capacitor on this that is limiting us from getting up to full capacity. But here's the footnote. Even if the new positions are approved, they're hard to fill. You can't just take someone off the street to fill them. We can't have untrained people staffing the entry doors. These people need to have certain skill sets and ability to arrest, and they have to deny access to the court on some occasions. So I won't take the time to outline them all here, but it's difficult to fill these positions, even in the best of circumstances. So fast forward to November 3rd. A couple of things happened on November 3rd. We issued a revised management plan that included an addendum. And basically, it's the reality check addendum. Priority cases currently fill our dockets, and we cannot currently predict when other matters may be heard. Jury trials will be limited to criminal matters. The trial court chiefs are working on a schedule for jury trials in 2021. And that, believe me, is a task. The logistics going into that are simply enormous. On November 3rd, I also issued a detailed statement regarding the obstacles and the path forward, and in greater detail than we can cover here with the time allotted. But both are available on the Judicial Branch website, and I really would commend both to your readings if you haven't done so already. So the stark and undeniable reality is we can't get back to business as usual while the COVID threat is present, and we are stuck with the limitations of our current resources. This situation is not unique to Maine. Other states, pretty much all other states, have reached the same status. Some of the better funded ones are doing better, but most are in the same holding pattern that we're in. And as you may know, as you probably know, many states have simply said, no jury trials, period. They're all on hold until COVID is over. In the meantime, and in the recent past, after issuing those reality check statements, I received a number of communications from a number of organizations and individuals, including MSBA, that either asked the court to establish groups to brainstorm and come up with solutions, or alternately offering to create ad hoc groups to make suggestions. And let me be clear about this. We are grateful for all these offers, absolutely. In some instances, the communications offered suggestions that we have already recognized and reviewed and assessed. And some of them offered measures that other states have taken. And again, rest assured, we have also looked at them. Our working groups have attended national webinars, brainstorming sessions, a mountain of written materials, including some excellent stuff that comes out from the National Center for State Courts. They're monitoring this, and whenever someone comes up with a great idea, they publicize it to get it out there. But we're pretty much all in the same boat. And it occurs to me that perhaps we haven't gotten the word out on how hard we've been working and searching for creative approaches and solutions. It has consumed us. But to be clear, we welcome the efforts of groups and individuals to offer suggestions, and we will commit a judicial liaison person to attend any such ad hoc groups. And it may be that we have overlooked a creative innovation. We are open to any and all suggestions. So a couple quick numbers for today to put things in context. I'll just offer up a few of them. As of today's date, pending adult criminal cases are 21,538. And that is compared to 1 year ago, the adult criminal pending cases were 13,113. We currently have 53 adult murder and manslaughter cases. And as you folks who do criminal work know, they tend to jam up the dockets. If there is a murder case on the docket, it's planned well in advance and tends to create a logjam behind it. A year ago, we had 40 adult murder manslaughter cases pending. I haven't checked on the Violations Bureau lately. That's, traffic tickets. Last time I checked, it was weeks ago, there were over 10,000 traffic tickets waiting adjudication. Foreclosures. When COVID hit in March of this year, we had 609 foreclosure cases that were pending for over 1 year. As of today's date, we have 1,016 foreclosure cases that have been pending for over than 1 year. You know, these are stark figures. I won't run them all down. Again, it would take too long. If you want any particular figures, I can have our people get them. They were still using the Mead system, which is a bit labor intensive. We're looking forward to the Odyssey system, but we can get them for you if you need them. So this has all been a little bit dark, but I want to switch gears and go to some positive notes. I stood in for the governor last Wednesday and swore in the 130th legislature. And it was great to see that they are back, and they are back at work. And there was considerable positive ambiance among the legislators, a lot of talk about working together, addressing the problems. So I had a good feeling about that. I'm hoping that the courts will fare well as the budget process is undertaken. As you know, we have enormous shortfalls in revenues, so we'll stay tuned for that. The Augusta Courthouse, the update, it closed last week, and not a whole lot of information got out about it. So here's the story. An employee tested positive for COVID. Employees who were in close contact with that person were directed to quarantine at home. The courthouse was vacated for a period that our consultant at CDC confirmed would eradicate any residual viruses. Employees are being permitted to return after the appropriate quarantine periods are completed. And it is believed that the exposure to the virus did not occur within the facility. Courthouse reopened today. We conferred with our medical consultant at DHHS and our epidemiological consultant at CDC, and we have been advised that our measures met or exceeded CDC requirements. We've created, this has been in the process for a while, and this Augusta situation sort of hit just as we were putting the finishing touches on that. But we've created in-house a COVID monitoring system that collects numbers and data for all court locations and presents the materials and briefings once per week. Our response mechanism, as created by our in-house COVID response team, places the responsibility for closing decisions in the hands of the regional judges in consultation with the trial court chiefs. So looking back at this, we had a successful response to the situation. We are ready for future situations, and we will keep the website updated with information on any future similar situations. And of course, numbers being what they are, there probably will be future similar situations. As you know, the new Odyssey case management system is up and running in Bangor. Data has been imported from Mead. Pending cases have been front-loaded. E-filing is up and running. It is mandatory for attorneys, unless you're exempted, in case types that are running, which are basically civil and all BCD cases. That's statewide, but this is in Bangor only. In preparation, we've done 11 training sessions for users with a total of 716 participants. The training video is on the website, and I'm pleased to announce that we will be doing another training session at the MSBA virtual meeting in January. We're lining up the details on that. The main eCourts page is a valuable resource for all things related to e-filing and access to court records, and I encourage you to visit it. As of the end of the week last week, we had 13 cases, new cases, effectively and successfully filed with e-filing systems. So we are up and running. We've had many improvements to our video remote technology and experience. We now have Zoom carts in almost all locations. We're getting more experience with it. And as time goes by, I'm satisfied that our remote capabilities will successfully and significantly improve with experience. We are rolling out, or will be rolling out, a brand new upgraded website, JB website, that will enhance the ease of use and improves our user experience. It really looks terrific. It is the go-to place for all JB goings-on, including revisions to PMOs and other documents. So, current events, hot off the press, breaking news. There's a raft of PMOs and other items that are likely to issue this week, and I'll walk you through those briefly. Look for an updated PMO SJC 2G. This is basically to reconcile that PMO with the Rex rules, which I assume that many of you are familiar with, particularly those of you who will be practicing in Bangor. PMO SJC number 3. This relates to emailed filings. Let me take just a moment here. This is not e-filing. We have two completely different concepts that sound very, very much the same. They are e-filing and emailed filings. Please be careful how you use the language. We've had a number of folks who even commented on this and switched them. They're so easy to switch. We thought about defining them separately to keep them distinct, but unfortunately the definition would include those terms anyway. So e-filing means e-courts. It means the system that's online in Bangor now. An entirely different system is emailed filings, which relates to PMO SJ3. Early on during the coronavirus crisis, we provided email filings. We discontinued it later when we felt that things were under control, people were moving forward, but the lawyers really liked it and requested it be returned. Turns out the clerks like it too. So absolutely, we needed to move forward with it. I thought this would be a simple matter. Just say emailed filings are not permitted. Turns out the devil's in the details and things quickly got very complicated because basically we are rewriting our rules of civil procedure. So we invited comments. We've received many, many comments. We are working on the final versions and they may issue as soon as today, certainly this week. So emailed filings are in your future. Please read the PMO carefully. It's sort of a mini civil rules provisions and we need to be careful as to how it happens. It got complicated because we realized that filings in PA and PH cases has some other considerations that don't apply across the board in other matters. So look for an updated PMO SJC number 7. It now will allow for virtual backgrounds in video proceedings in instances where the safety for a party or a witness is at stake. We received a number of feedback saying if people are communicating from locations that can be identified, it creates a potential risk. PMO SJC 8, waivers of appearance. This was originally created to allow attorneys in criminal matters to enter their appearance and waive a first appearance on behalf of their clients, keeping folks out of the courtroom. It was well received, and folks doing court-appointed work wanted to have the same opportunities. It's a different situation there. They don't enter their appearance, but this would allow them to do something similar, which is to note that they have been appointed and to also waive the appearance on behalf of their clients. So that language is being drafted in conjunction with folks who do defense work, including MCILS folks and MACDIL. I actually have a final draft of that language that appeared in my email box moments before we signed on here, so look for that to occur quickly. There'll also be a Rex rules update. We needed to clarify notice requirements as they apply to conventional filers. These are folks who will be continuing to file things in paper. That will be converted to PDFs and made part of the electronic record, but it gets a little confusing as to whether they must continue to use the electronic basis. So the Rex rules will update that. There'll be further updates to Rex rules down the road, but we want to put some experience behind that as we go forward. And finally, first of all, I apologize for going 100 miles an hour, but finally, under the urgently needs attention department, we currently have, and maybe you've experienced this, a walk-in arraignment overload. When COVID first hit, the police were very cooperative in curtailing summonsing for a while. They really held back and it kept the numbers down, made it very manageable. But they are back to summonsing at pre-COVID levels. And the fact is that too many people are being summoned for the same time and date. We can't get them all into the courthouses. And the clerks are doing double duty, sending them away and creating new arraignment dates. I heard just within the last couple of weeks down in Ellsworth, they set up card tables outside the courthouse to catch people as they arrive to give them new dates. That is unacceptable. We need to come up with a new process. We have tinkered with processes that would provide limits to departments for days and number of summonses. I understand the Maine State Police are working on something like that on their own. We would love it if all the departments got together, but we may have to consider our options to lay down requirements for the departments out there. So that is something we are taking a look at now. So those are the bullet points I had. I'm not sure how I'm doing for time. If there's time, I'd be happy to try and address questions as they come in.
Justice Mead, you're doing great. I think Angela's received some questions to share. And I'm just curious, I just wanted to share something that I've observed. There are a number of times where I've been in court and there's word that comes to the judge while we're there that the marshals have refused entry, denied entry to people that don't answer the questions right, or, you know, have yes answers to the questions. And so is there an analysis that's going on at the court about what to do about those situations, or has it just not come to light that it's being abused?
Yes, like everything else that happens during COVID, it seems like there would be a simple solution, and it turns out there isn't. There have been ad hoc solutions. You may have heard about the murder trial, or one of the trials we had here, that involved a doctor who had critical testimony that he needed to give. And he was asked, have you been in places where COVID's present? He said, well, of course I have. I work in the hospital. He was denied entry. Luckily, the court and the lawyers came up with a creative solution there. We had considered including or requiring that lawyers and district attorneys and defense counsel include COVID, the entry screening questions, so people will know ahead of time whether they can come in or not. And it gets complicated because if we do that in cases of, for instance, protections from abuse, where people have a constitutional right to be heard, parental rights are at stake. And if we start attaching things that will encourage people not to appear, it gets a little bit dicey there. So we are trying to find the middle ground on how to avoid the entry screening things that happen without discouraging people for attending court when we really need them to be there. So it is being considered. It's on a list of lengthy topics, but you are absolutely correct. It's a problem.
Justice Mead, I have a few questions for you, so hopefully we can get through them fairly quickly here. If a courthouse or a judge or court marshal or any court staff is not complying with PMOs or governor mandates regarding masks or people in the courtrooms, et cetera, or if there are general health safety concerns that are not being addressed by a local judge, to whom should we direct our concerns?
It can go either to the trial court judge, the regional trial court chief, or to me. Either way is fine. We have just ramped up our in-house compliance. We have consultants, medical and CDC consultants. The most recent directives is that masks need to be worn even in settings inside where there are plexiglass and separate barriers. So we issued the directive to all our people saying, yes, you may have a workstation that is protected by plexiglass. You haven't been wearing the mask. Going forward, you have to wear the mask. The only exception is if you're in a closed office where people are not likely to come in. So we have issued strict guidance. If anybody is aware of failure to comply with guidance, that should be made aware to us, because my personal objective is on this is I do not want the courthouses to be places of community transmission. That we're part of government, and we owe a duty to make sure that we don't become places of community transmission. Maybe we can't avoid it. Maybe it's unavoidable, but we need to do everything possible in our abilities. So yes, let someone know, a regional trial chief or me.
Okay, thank you. What is the ongoing plan for Zoom conferences in 2021 to resolve final foreclosure hearings? And will this continue to be the default for pretrial and final hearing dispositions?
Yeah, we're looking at that. I believe that all matters that had been pre-approved for handling by Zoom will continue to be handled that way, subject to the priority scheduling. So I think the short answer is probably status quo for the short term. But as I said before, priority cases are filling our dockets. to the extent that there is an opportunity to roll in other matters, we will do that. I don't see any possible way that we can reach civil jury trials, given the number of criminal matters with people being held in pretrial detention. I know there's an effort underway to come up with some creative ways to address civil jury trials, and maybe we'll come up with something creative there. But people with constitutional issues at stake, like people who are being held pretrial, they get the first dibs on the jury trials.
It appears that a form must be filed by attorneys to get access to Odyssey and to see case files. How long does it take to get access? This appears to be separate from creating your e-file account.
I believe they are separate. Those should be turned around in very short order, because right now in the Bangor implementation site, we have our brain trust of our IT department on board, and excuse me, also the Tyler support people are. So turnaround should be almost immediate on that. If it isn't, please let me know. I will double check into that. And at some point down the road, as I've mentioned in the past, the copyrighted name research module is going to be available, which I'm guessing that a lot of lawyers are going to want to jump onto there. It's a fabulous opportunity. But if the turnaround time for getting access to Odyssey and e-filing is more than a day, I will look into that.
Okay. Are Clifford order materials covered in the new PMOs, as in will there be alternatives to reviewing the DHHS records in person at the courthouse?
That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. I will double check. And a lot of our revisions for PMOs come from folks to say, what about this? And we go, we don't know, we'll address it. So I don't have the answer off the top of my head. We will look into it and get back to you, and in your updates, you can clarify that.
Perfect. I have one more. Why are we getting notices of in-person hearings or conferences on matters that are presumed to be held remotely?
That is another good question. If a matter can be held remotely, it must be held remotely. Occasionally, there are circumstances where certain matters can't be held remotely for various reasons. Someone may not be able to participate. They may lack the bandwidth or the hardware. But we do give discretion to judges to schedule matters for in-person hearings if they can't be held remotely. So it may be case specific. I don't know in those circumstances, but we will. Well, we have again recently reaffirmed to our trial court judges and justices that if a matter can be held remotely, that's the way it goes. We want to keep people out of the courthouse to the maximum degree, because as I mentioned earlier, we can only get so many people into the courthouses. And if there's another way to do it without getting them in, we must do that. So the other footnote to that is our Zoom capabilities are evolving. In some cases, if it involved hybrid proceedings, things got complicated. We couldn't mix up the technology. We tried to get some people in the courtroom and some not. This is all evolving, and to the extent that cases that should have gone by video and ended up being in person, you may find that gap narrowing as we move toward the future.
Okay, so this actually is the very last one, because it's the last one I'm going to take for now.
Okay.
In light of some current staffing shortages, do the respective district courts have a particular plan in place to accommodate expected increased filings for phase 5 cases like foreclosure when they resume?
I should probably defer that to the trial court judges. I try not to micromanage their scheduling processes. I'm guessing that Jed and Rick have that under control. And again, that's probably one for the trial court chiefs.
Thank you, Justice Mead.
Yes, and Justice Mead, I just wanted to piggyback on that thought, though, just for clarity, because of statute of limitations issues and stuff. There's no prohibition, is there, against any filing of a case?
Of course not. Oh.
Right.
No, if you have a statute running, go ahead and file it.
Right. Okay. I
actually had an inquiry from Nancy Rabaska at the library, Cleves Library, and she is compiling a library of past revisions of PMOs in case that comes up. And I said to her, or my people said to her, there shouldn't be a problem because the PMOs, as they get revised along the way, are intended to correct. You shouldn't be looking about revision number 2 as to whether or not something happened. If you have a statute of limitations looming, go ahead and file it, for heaven's sake. There's nothing in the PMOs that is intended to undo statutory requirements. They do override some of our civil rules, but certainly not statutory requirements.
And with that, Acting Justice, Chief Justice Mead, thank you very much for joining us today and sharing what's going on in the judicial branch. And we hope we can invite you back again. And please, if we don't see you, have a wonderful holiday season and Happy New Year.
And thank you, same to you and all your members. Thank you for the platform. And I will depart and let you take care of other matters of concern. Thank you.
Angela, were there a couple quick announcements and then we can wrap up?
Yep, just like the slide says, you know, we have a Board of Governors meeting coming up tomorrow, last one of the year. President Day will preside over that meeting one more time. And then Mr. McDonald will be becoming president starting January 1st. And then don't forget, Winter Bar Conference is next month. Please put those dates on your calendar and join us virtually.
And I see President-elect McDonald is joining us too. And I will be joining you guys, of course, for the rest of the bar talks we have this season. As future President McDonald is looking forward to taking the reins on that too. So we'll get through it. We'll get through this holiday, and we look forward to seeing you next week when we're probably going to be reviewing all these new PMOs that come out. Bye, everyone.